Andrew Wiggins is currently on the trade block, and given the years of reports and now the assets the Raptors currently have on their roster, the Toronto Raptors are being linked as a potential destination for Andrew Wiggins once again. So we're going to break down all of these sort of projections, what's going on with Andrew Wiggins and the Golden State Warriors, and whether or not it makes sense for the Toronto Raptors to go after the Canadian wing that has had star moments over the course of his career, but obviously moments that are also super low. So lots of stuff to discuss, but before we do, folks, you guys have been crushing it, hitting that like button in recent weeks. We found out it really helps the videos when you guys smash the like button, so it means the world to me if you guys could hit that like button on this video if you're enjoying the daily Toronto Raptors coverage. But let's dive into the reports and what's going on regarding Wiggs, because obviously he's a name familiar to a lot of Raptors fans. Basically, the Warriors are expected to actively shop Andrew Wiggins in trade talks this offseason. Wiggins has currently close to $85 million remaining on his contract over the next 3 years. With the emergence of Jonathan Kuminga, Golden State will attempt to offload Wiggins for someone who is a better fit during the course of this offseason. Now, this is really interesting. This is an interesting discussion to go on because obviously Andrew Wiggins is a dude that has had some monumental highs over the course of his career. He was the second best player on a championship winning team just a couple seasons ago. Andrew Wiggins is a guy that has proven at points in his career he can be an elite two-way player playing winning basketball, especially with the Golden State Warriors. Obviously has had moments where he looks like a true star in the NBA, but frankly, things just haven't worked out perfectly over the course of his career. Just looking at his stats, especially this most recent season, he really regressed. I mean, at age 29 years old, a moment in your career where you're expected to be at the peak of your powers, the prime of your career, only averaged 13 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, 1.7 assists, under a block and under a steal per night, for a guy that's supposed to be a defensive master, and only shooting 36% from behind the three-point line. And again, you might look at the stats and say, hey, Golden State, they're a championship level team. He's just fitting into the system with Steph Curry, Draymond, Klay Thompson, all these types of guys. Well, frankly, the Golden State Warriors haven't been the level of play that they were when they were in that championship era run. He's not at that same winning level, and he's not stepping up to the plate to give more production to the Golden State Warriors team as is needed. So the Golden State Warriors looking to potentially move on from him the offseason, especially with now Kuminga doing similar skill set to Andrew Wiggins now at this point. He's the young player, the young direction the team wants to move into, and given Andrew Wiggins' significant salary, they want to offload him, as that sort of report indicated. Well, what does that mean for the Toronto Raptors? Why would the Toronto Raptors be linked? Well, there's outlets out here already linking us. Essentially, Bleacher Report came out with one ambitious trade target for every NBA team. And with these lists, Andrew Wiggins is on the market. They had a lot to say about Wiggs coming to the Toronto Raptors. Essentially saying Andrew Wiggins, for example, is someone the Dubs could ship out without triggering the same kind of it's all over vibes, as it would with the Draymond Green or Klay Thompson or something like that. Here, the Toronto Raptors, what could be as much as $28 million in cap space to take on Wiggins. They could potentially fit in. The 29-year-old two-way wing, whose value is at an all-time low, at least over the last 4 years, even with the diminished version of Wiggins, would help Toronto. Offering quality defense across 4 positions, generally reliable three-point shooting, and the ability to get looks off against good defenders when he plays break down. So basically, what Bleacher Report is saying, even if he's not the level of star that he once was, winning championship for Golden State Warriors, he's still a player that could slot in well, even at an expensive price, and provide some value for the team. And they also discussed what the Raptors could potentially give up in a scenario to bring in Wiggs. Essentially, the last year's 13 points per game and 35% shooting from the three-point line were career and 4-year lows, respectively. If we assume Wiggins has even a moderate bounce back, he'll contribute like a no questions asked starter, and if he hits his peak level playing in his home country, well, I guess that means the Raptors get someone who was legitimately the second best player on a winning team in the 2022 finals, and that's a decent get for cap space and say a loosely protected second rounder. So essentially, that's sort of the projection. That's what Bleacher Report's throwing out there as a package, going back to the Golden State Warriors in a deal for Andrew Wiggins. And honestly, Andrew Wiggins coming in as a player, if you could just slot him in, no strings attached and stuff, I actually think he'd be a pretty good fit on this team. losing OG Anunoby, we need some more mobile two-way guys that can come in and slot at that sort of athletic 3-4 position, knock down threes, and just do his thing out there. Even with the stats, even looking at all the encompassing side of things, Andrew Wiggins, I think, as a basketball player, would fit nicely in this Toronto Raptors team, outside the fact he's Canadian, and we have RJ Barrett, Kelly Olynyk on the squad now at this point. I mean, that's the added cherry on top to bringing in an Andrew Wiggins. And a deal could potentially go down in regards to the cap space, but there are risks before we dive into what the Raptors could attach to a potential deal, because that $28 million in terms of cap space, like if we look at the Toronto Raptors sort of situation roster-wise for the future, we have a lot of flexibility moving forward for this team. Not a lot of long-term money locked into any players outside of RJ Barrett, Immanuel Quickley after this offseason. Obviously, Scottie Barnes is going to be getting that bag. Jakob Poeltl also has some bread too, so we have some room to play with. It's not like we have no sort of strings attached to any of our guys, but Andrew Wiggins would come in and eat up a ton of that flexibility. And if he doesn't sort of rejuvenate his career with the Toronto Raptors, and some might speculate, hey, on a team that's not as polished as the Golden State Warriors, even though they're not that great in recent seasons, he'll regress to what he was doing at some years of career lows in Minnesota, right? Then things could get really messy given his long and massive contract. So that's something to factor in. But again, there's high upside and high downside with bringing in Andrew Wiggins, but there is a way for the Raptors to potentially facilitate a deal, and that's bringing in sending off another NBA champion to the Golden State Warriors, and Bruce Brown, who could potentially be a better fit on that squad. I mean, if we look at Bruce Brown's stats himself, still didn't have the greatest season last year. 11 points per game, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Still on pretty significant money, but the difference between Bruce Brown and Andrew Wiggins is Bruce Brown's contract only has 1 year remaining on his deal. Wiggins has essentially 3 years left on his contract. And the Golden State Warriors are a team that are looking for win-now guys. They want to sort of maximize the Steph Curry window, but they don't want to have an insanely high tax bill over the next 3 seasons. So in order to offload money, you have to take in money. But the reason and the value for expiring contracts is you could take in a Bruce Brown, and even though that allows you to get off of Andrew Wiggins' contract and all that, those types of things, he's off your books next summer. So even if Bruce Brown, even the diminished Andrew Wiggins, Bruce Brown is a little bit of a downgrade considering Wiggs, but Bruce Brown is a guy that has won an NBA championship over the past 2 years, has proven he can be a contributor, a valuable contributor to a winning team, fill in to a roster that's already established, not take over the offense or really have a bad negative impact on the squad, can contribute to winning, and then if you want to get off his money, if you want to let him walk, you can leave in next year's offseason. So essentially, that's the value. That's the reason the Golden State Warriors would find so much sort of value in bringing in a Bruce Brown and one of these types of deals to offload Andrew Wiggins' money. And Bleacher Report essentially said, right, they sort of brought up how the Raptors would essentially probably have to give up a lightly protected second. I think if this deal goes down, given the risks and the potential downsides with Andrew Wiggins, we might actually be able to be the team that gets draft capital in this potential package. Now, would it be a guaranteed first, especially a Warriors team where they have a lot of concerns and considerations about their future? Who really knows? But I wouldn't be shocked if we could get a couple of seconds. I wouldn't be shocked if this team could potentially get some draft capital in a Bruce Brown for Andrew Wiggins straight up swap. The money works. Everything works out on that front. So the deal I wouldn't mind happening, but again, it does affect our flexibility. But adding another Canadian with high upside, I guess it's weird to say high upside because he is 29, but we've seen him execute on high upside. I don't think it would be a horrible move for the Toronto Raptors. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. You guys best think as far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. I'm signing out. Cheers.